Welcome to this explainer. I'm putting on my military analyst hat today because we're going to unpack the mechanical and strategic significance of a rapidly emerging technology on the modern battlefield. We're looking at a fundamental shift in how aerial warfare is actually being conducted, a shift that's currently bypassing some of the most heavily funded defense systems in the entire world. Now, right up front, I want to mention that all the data, the battlefield reports, and the technical specs we're analyzing today are sourced entirely from sonophiles.com. We're going to look at this strictly through an impartial analytical lens. We're focusing purely on the hardware, the mechanics, and the real-world strategic implications of this new technological reality. All right, let's just do a quick run-through of our agenda. We're going to cover 1. The air defense challenge, 2. The fiber optic secret, 3. Mechanics of cable deployment, 4. Wireless versus light transmission, 5. The risk of entanglement, and finally, 6. Rethinking military investments. Let's get into it. Starting off with Section 1, the Air Defense Challenge, we're truly looking at a shifting paradigm in aerial engagement. And really, the numbers illustrate the shift perfectly. 14. According to sonophiles.com, Hebrew media sources have acknowledged 14 injured Israeli soldiers, some in critical condition, alongside 1 fatality. And this was following recent drone operations in southern Lebanon and northern occupied Palestine. So, this isn't just a theoretical vulnerability we're talking about, it's translating into direct, measurable battlefield impact. Cinephiles.com actually reports a very distinct pattern of precision targeting across multiple locations. We're seeing coordinated swarm attacks at the newly established Blat site, confirmed strikes in Shema, and direct hits on military vehicles, like a Humvee over Embiyata. In Shamara specifically, 12 soldiers were wounded when an explosive drone struck an armored vehicle that was being used to transport artillery shells. This consistent operational success has actually triggered internal military investigations just to figure out why traditional defenses are suddenly failing against these specific drone systems. So why are they failing? That brings us to Section 2, the fiber optic secret. It's really exposing structural weaknesses in air defense. The secret here is basically a physical tether. Fiber optic first-person view drones are attack units that have completely abandoned traditional wireless radio communication. No radio waves at all. Instead, they rely on an ultra-thin, lightweight, and highly durable cable that physically connects the aircraft right back to its launch point. By swapping out those invisible radio frequencies for a physical, light-based data link, these drones are completely bypassing traditional interception and jamming methods. Now, you're probably thinking, wait, wouldn't a thin cable just snap instantly in the middle of combat? Well, actually, no. These cables are reinforced with incredibly tough materials like Kevlar and aramid fibers, which lets them withstand the high tension and those really rapid, erratic movements of an attack drone. Plus, sonophiles.com notes that in some systems, these cables actually include copper conductors. That means the base can supply continuous power to the drone mid-flight. That allows it to stay airborne for dramatically extended periods, completely changing loiter times. It's pretty wild. Okay, moving to Section 3, mechanics of cable deployment. Let's look at how the hardware functions in real time. The mechanical simplicity of this system is honestly its genius. The cable isn't being dragged from the base station. That would create way too much drag. Instead, Step 1, a tightly wound spool of fiber optic cable is attached directly to the drone's body. Step 2, as the drone flies forward, it just leaves a trail of cable behind it, unraveling seamlessly in real time. And Step 3, this ensures zero drag or tension pulling back on the aircraft, all while maintaining that continuous, direct physical connection to the operator. Now, 25 kilometers, you'd probably assume a physical tether means you can only fly, a few blocks? But the technical operational range is actually between 10 and 50 kilometers. In fact, recently, the Israeli military reported one of these drones penetrating approximately 25 kilometers into occupied territory before detonating, and that was without a single drop in signal or control. The cable just literally keeps unspooling. Let's dive into Section 4, wireless versus light transmission. This is the big electronic warfare dilemma. On one side, we've got traditional wireless signals. They rely on radio frequencies to send commands to the drone. Modern air defenses are insanely good at just blasting the sky with electronic noise to jam those frequencies, basically rendering standard drones blind and deaf. But on the other side, we have fixed cable light transmission. Because these drones use single or multi-mode fiber optics, the data is transmitted as light pulses locked safely inside the physical cable. They don't rely on wireless signals at all. Because of that, conventional electronic jamming techniques are entirely 100% ineffective against them. They send high-definition video right back to the operator with zero lag and absolutely zero interference.
The source material uses this phrase, lethal light threads, and man, it just perfectly encapsulates the reality of this technology. These minimal loss, high-speed light transmissions are effectively neutralizing billions of dollars of electronic warfare infrastructure. They're reshaping the balance of power in the sky by just ignoring the invisible electronic battlefield entirely.
But look, as an impartial analyst, I have to point out it's not a flawless system. Let's look at Section 5, the risk of entanglement, or the physical vulnerabilities of cable systems. While the system is completely immune to invisible electronic jamming, that physical tether itself is basically the drone's Achilles heel. It's highly vulnerable to physical interference. I mean, an operator can't just fly anywhere they want. There's a huge risk of the cable tangling up in tree canopies or snagging on existing infrastructure like power lines. Because of that, it requires highly specific, really deliberate flight path planning to make sure that unspooling cord doesn't wrap around an obstacle and sever the connection. And that brings us to our final section, Section 6, Rethinking Military Investments. This is a major strategic dilemma for global defense right now. We are literally watching an asymmetric warfare masterclass unfold. Think about it. On one side, you've got low-cost fiber-optic drones. On the other, air defenses requiring billions with a B in funding. The expensive defenses rely on radio interference to survive, while the cheap drones are totally immune because they use light. The massive defense arrays are rigid and structural, while this low-tech approach is super adaptable. Sure, the drones suffer from physical entanglement risks, but right now, incredibly expensive and sophisticated systems are literally being outmaneuvered by what is essentially an explosive strapped to a really long high-tech piece of string. And that leaves us with a pretty massive question. As these tactical shifts continue to evolve and completely bypass conventional radar and jamming, how are global military planners going to adapt their rigid billion-dollar budgets to counter a threat as simple yet effective as a spool of fiber optic cable? It's a stark reminder that in warfare, innovation doesn't always mean throwing more money at the problem. Sometimes it just means changing the rules of the game entirely. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep analyzing, and I'll catch you in the next one.